The text came at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. "I'm not your possession. I'll come home late. Don't call." I stared at those words for maybe 30 seconds. Then I typed back, "I'm not your husband anymore. Don't come back." Sent. I put the phone face down on the kitchen counter and walked to the fridge, pulled out a beer, twisted the cap, took a long drink. The phone started buzzing before I'd swallowed. Once, twice, 5 times, 10. I turned it over. Vanessa's name lit up the screen again and again. 20 calls, 30, 47. The voicemails started stacking up like bodies in a morgue. I let them pile, finished my beer, opened another. By the time I checked again, there were 67 missed calls. 67 times she'd tried to reach me in 10 minutes. That's when I knew I'd finally broken through. My name is Jason Colter, and I spent 8 years being invisible, not literally. I showed up, I paid bills, I remembered anniversaries. I listened when Vanessa talked about her day at the consulting firm, nodding at the right moments, asking the questions she wanted me to ask. I became very good at being exactly what she needed, which is another way of saying I stopped being anything at all. The thing about invisibility is that it's comfortable, safe. You don't make waves, you don't cause problems, you just exist. And for a long time, I told myself that was enough. But comfort is just another word for cowardice. I sat at our kitchen table that Tuesday night, listening to my phone vibrate itself across the granite countertop. The sound was almost rhythmic, hypnotic. Each buzz was another little piece of her panic, and I found myself counting them the way you might count sheep. 68, 69, 70. The apartment was quiet otherwise. We'd bought this place 3 years ago, a 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. Vanessa loved those windows, said they made her feel successful. I'd pointed out that they also made us visible to every neighbor with binoculars, but she'd laughed and called me paranoid. Funny how that turned out. I picked up the phone, scrolled through the call log, started reading the text messages that had come in between the calls. "Jason, answer me. This isn't funny. We need to talk about this. You're being childish. I'm sorry, okay? Just pick up. Jason, seriously, I'm worried." That last one almost made me laugh. Worried. She was worried now. Not 3 hours ago when she'd sent that first message. Not yesterday when she'd stayed out until 2 a.m. Not last week when I'd found the hotel receipt in her coat pocket. But now she was worried. I opened my laptop and logged into our shared cloud account. Vanessa wasn't great with technology. She'd set up automatic backups on her phone years ago and then forgotten about them. Every photo, every message, every note got quietly uploaded to a server neither of us thought about. Until now. I scrolled through the recent backups, opened her text messages, started reading. There was a contact saved as conference planning. The messages didn't sound like conference planning. They sounded like someone who'd forgotten that their spouse existed. "Can't wait to see you Friday. Wear the blue dress. You know the one. Hotel confirmation attached." I opened the attachment. The Langham Hotel. Premium suite. Check-in. Last Friday. Check-out. Sunday morning. I'd been at a work training that weekend. Vanessa said she was visiting her sister in Milwaukee. I kept reading. Went back further. Weeks. Months. The messages painted a picture I'd been trying not to see for a long time. Meeting times. Inside jokes. Plans made around my schedule. The calendar was even better. She'd synced that too. I pulled up the last 6 months and started cross-referencing. Every business trip. Every late night at the office. Every weekend with friends. There was a pattern. And the pattern had a name. I opened a new browser tab and searched our company intranet. Vanessa worked at Brightwell Consulting. So did someone named Elliot Harrow, senior associate. Same department. His LinkedIn showed a wife and 2 kids. His calendar, which was semi-public for scheduling purposes, matched Vanessa's gaps perfectly. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail notification. I didn't listen to it. Instead, I opened a new document and started typing. Date, time, location, evidence. I worked methodically, the way I'd learned in my IT systems job. Everything documented, everything traceable, everything backed up. I'd spent 8 years making myself smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. That ended tonight. The apartment door rattled, a key in the lock. Vanessa burst in, her face flushed, her designer coat hanging off one shoulder. She looked beautiful. She always did. That was part of the problem. Jason, what the hell? She dropped her purse on the entry table. You can't just what? I didn't look up from my laptop. Can't just stop pretending? Pretending? She laughed, but it came out shaky. What are you talking about? The Langham, last Friday. Silence. I finally looked at her, watched the calculation happen behind her eyes, the quick mental math of how much I knew versus how much she could deny. You went through my phone, she said finally. Your cloud backup. You gave me the password, remember? For emergencies. That's a violation of what? Trust? I closed the laptop. Stood up. You want to talk about violations, Vanessa? Because I've got a whole spreadsheet we could discuss. She stared at me. I'd never talked to her like this before. Never challenged her. Never pushed back. I'd been so good at disappearing that she'd forgotten I was capable of being seen. This isn't what you think, she said. It never is. Jason, if you'd just let me explain. I don't want your explanation. I walked past her toward the bedroom. I want you to leave. Leave? This is my apartment too. No. I stopped in the doorway. This is my apartment. Check the lease. Your name isn't on it. You wanted to keep your credit score clean for your car loan, remember? I saw her process that. Another calculation. Another angle she hadn't considered. You can't just kick me out, she said. I can. I am. Pack whatever you need for tonight. We'll figure out the rest later. Jason, please. She stepped toward me, reached for my arm. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can't. I pulled away. Because there's no we anymore. You made sure of that. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Sat on the edge of the bed and listened to her move around the apartment. Drawers opening, closet doors, the zip of a suitcase. 15 minutes later, the front door slammed. I sat there in the silence, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. I'd just blown up my entire life. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of carefully maintained peace. And it felt like the first breath I'd taken in forever. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in months. Zane Bishop. It's Jason. You busy? For you? Never. What's up? Remember when you said if I ever needed help with anything, you'd be there? Yeah. I need help. There was a pause. Then, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Zane showed up with coffee and a laptop bag. He took one look at me and handed me the larger cup. You look terrible, he said. Thanks. I mean it. When's the last time you slept? What day is it? Thursday. I did the math. Monday night. Zane shook his head and dropped into the chair across from me. We were in my kitchen, the same place I'd been camped out for the last 48 hours, my laptop surrounded by scattered papers and empty food containers. Zane Bishop used to be a private investigator before he switched to corporate security consulting. We'd met at a tech conference 5 years ago, bonded over whiskey and frustration with our respective industries. He was one of the few people I'd stayed in touch with who knew me before Vanessa. All right, he said. Talk me through it. I did. Started with Tuesday night and walked him through everything I'd found, the messages, the calendar patterns, the hotel receipts. He listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on his phone. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. How do you want to handle this? He asked. I don't know. That's why I called you. Okay. Let me ask it differently. What's your goal here? I thought about that. Really thought about it. I want her to understand what she threw away, I said finally. I want consequences. Real ones, not just a divorce. Anyone can get divorced. Zane nodded slowly. All right, but we do this clean. Legal. Nothing that comes back on you. Obviously. I'm serious, Jason. You're angry. That's valid. But anger makes people stupid, and stupid gets you in trouble. I'm not looking for trouble. I'm looking for justice. Justice is expensive, and time-consuming, and often unsatisfying. He opened his laptop. But information is cheap, and information becomes power if you know how to use it. He pulled up a screen-sharing app. Show me everything you've got. We spent the next 3 hours going through Vanessa's digital footprint. Zane had software I'd never seen before. Not illegal, he assured me, just thorough. We tracked location data from her phone's backup, cross-referenced credit card statements from our joint account, built a timeline that was damning in its precision. She's not even trying to hide it, Zane muttered. Look at this. Same restaurant every Thursday. Same hotel every other Friday. She's running a schedule. She doesn't think I'd ever check. Probably didn't think you'd ever care. That one stung, but he wasn't wrong. We found more than I'd expected. Vanessa had been charging everything to our joint credit card, dinners, hotels, even some jewelry I'd never seen her wear. She'd been using our money to fund her separate life. This is good, Zane said. Really good. For the divorce, I mean. I don't want to just divorce her. I want to... I stopped. Tried to find the right words. I want her to feel what I felt. Betrayed? Small. I want her to feel small. Zane looked at me for a long moment. Okay. Then we need to think bigger than just her. What do you mean? Who else is involved? Who's benefiting from this? Who's protecting her? I thought about it. Elliot, obviously. The guy she's seeing. He married? Yeah. Then he's vulnerable too. What about friends? Anyone she talks to about this? Lila Dorsey, they work together. She's always covering for Vanessa. Probably knows everything. Zane made a note. Anyone else? Not that I can think of. What about work? How much does Brightwell know? Nothing as far as I know. Why? Because Vanessa's a senior consultant. She's representing the company. If she's involved in something that could embarrass them, improper relationships with colleagues, misusing company resources, anything like that, they'll want to know. I saw where he was going. You want to blow up her career. I want to give her employers accurate information about how she represents their brand. What they do with that information is up to them. It was a fine line, and we both knew it. But Zane was right. This wasn't just about Vanessa. It was about everyone who'd enabled her. Everyone who'd looked the other way. What do you need from me? I asked. Access. Anything that can verify what we're finding. Receipts, statements, emails. The more documentation we have, the better. I pulled up the shared accounts. Started downloading statements. Zane worked beside me, organizing everything into folders, creating a chronological record that read like a crime scene timeline. This is going to take a few days, he said eventually. We need to be thorough. One mistake and everything falls apart. I've got time. What about Vanessa? She try to contact you? Constantly. I gestured to my phone. I've been ignoring her. Good. Keep doing that. The longer you're silent, the more nervous she gets. Nervous people make mistakes. We worked until almost dawn. When Zane finally left, I had a plan. Not just for the divorce, for everything after. I'd spent 8 years being patient, being understanding, being easy to overlook. Now it was Vanessa's turn to disappear. The first move was subtle. I changed my direct deposit, opened a new bank account at a different institution, transferred my half of our joint savings, exactly 50% legally mine, no questions asked, left her portion untouched. Then I started canceling things, the streaming services in my name, the cloud storage, the shared meal delivery subscription, little things that wouldn't be noticed immediately but would add up. Next came the utilities. Our apartment lease was in my name only, but I'd been paying for everything: electric, gas, internet. I called each company and explained I was moving out, gave them a 30-day notice, asked them to forward the final bills to Vanessa's office address. "You sure about this?" Zane asked when I told him. We were on the phone working through the plan step by step. Completely. "It's going to escalate things." "Good." I could hear him typing on his end. "What about the apartment?" "Lease is up in 2 months. I'm not renewing." "Where are you going?" "My brother's place. He's got a spare room." More typing. "Okay. And you've documented everything? Every change?" "Everything." "Good. Because she's going to lawyer up the second she realizes what's happening." Let her. The real work, though, was happening behind the scenes. Zane had connections, friends who worked in HR, people who understood how corporate investigations worked. He didn't have to do much. Just ask the right questions to the right people. "Hey, quick question about employee conduct policies at consulting firms. If someone was having an inappropriate workplace relationship, who would typically find out first?" "Just doing research for a client. What's the usual paper trail for expense report fraud?" "Hypothetically, if a senior employee was using company resources for personal matters, what would trigger an audit?" He never mentioned Vanessa by name. Never had to. He was just gathering information. Completely legal, completely ethical. But the questions got people thinking. 3 days after I changed my bank account, I got a text from Lila Dorsey. "Heard you and V are having problems. Hope you guys work it out." I didn't respond. The next morning, Vanessa showed up at the apartment. I'd been half expecting it, heard her key in the lock, then the frustrated curse when she realized I'd changed the deadbolt. She knocked. Pounded, really. "Jason, open up! We need to talk!" I sat on the couch, listening. Didn't move. "I know you're in there. Your car's outside." More pounding. "Jason, this is ridiculous. You can't just lock me out of my own home." Actually, I could. Legally, she'd abandoned the residence when she packed her bags and left. I'd documented that, taken photos, saved her text messages where she said she was staying with Lila for a while. The pounding stopped. I heard her phone. Muffled voice. Then, "Fine, be like that. But you're going to have to talk to me eventually." Footsteps. The elevator ding. Silence. I waited 5 minutes, then checked the peephole. Empty hallway. I went back to my laptop. Zane had sent over the next phase of the plan. It was elegant in its simplicity. We weren't going to expose Vanessa. We were going to let her expose herself. It started with Lila. Zane had found her social media. Lila loved posting. Every meal, every outfit, every thought that crossed her mind. She'd posted dozens of photos over the last few months. Brunches with Vanessa, happy hours, shopping trips. We went through them systematically. Cross-referenced dates with Vanessa's calendar. Found 3 occasions where Lila had posted photos of girls' night on evenings when Vanessa was actually with Elliot. "She's been covering," Zane said, "giving Vanessa an alibi. Can we use that?" "Not directly, but we can make it a problem for her." He pulled up Lila's LinkedIn. She worked in the same department as Vanessa. Same team, actually. They'd collaborated on projects. Her performance reviews were public within the company network. Zane had found a way in through a shared contact who had legitimate access. "She's up for promotion," Zane said. "Next quarter. Needs a clean record." And if someone raised questions about her judgment, her honesty, might complicate things. We didn't have to fabricate anything. The evidence was right there in her own posts. Photos time-stamped and geotagged. Captions that contradicted documented facts. A pattern of small deceptions that, when laid out clearly, painted a picture of someone who couldn't be trusted. Zane drafted an anonymous report, sent it to Brightwell's ethics hotline, included screenshots, dates, locations, everything verifiable, everything true. This is just about covering for someone's affair, the report concluded. What else might she be willing to lie about? The report went in on Monday. By Wednesday, Lila's social media went dark. By Friday, she'd deleted half her posts. She knows, Zane said when he saw the changes. Think she'll talk? People always talk when they're scared. He was right. 2 days later, I got a voicemail from Vanessa. Her voice was different, smaller, scared. Jason, please call me back. This is serious. Someone's been sending information to my office. They're asking questions about my expenses, about my travel. I think someone's trying to hurt me. Please, I need to talk to you. I saved the voicemail. Didn't call back. The next move was simpler. I'd been going through old emails, building my timeline, when I found something interesting. A message from Vanessa to her team, sent 6 months ago, complaining about the company's new diversity hiring initiative. She'd used some unfortunate phrasing. Nothing overtly terrible, but thoughtless, dismissive. The kind of thing that would play very badly in 2024. She'd sent it from her work email. To her work colleagues, it was already in the company's systems, already archived. All I had to do was make sure the right people saw it. I didn't send it myself. That would be too traceable. Instead, I mentioned it to Zane, who mentioned it to a friend, who mentioned it to someone in Brightwell's HR department. Just a casual observation. Hey, did you see that email from a few months back? The one about hiring? Seems problematic. 3 days later, Vanessa was suspended pending an investigation. She called me 17 times that day, sent 43 text messages, each one more desperate than the last. Jason, they're saying I'm being investigated. Do you know anything about this? Please, I need your help. They're asking about my emails. I'm going to lose my job. Everything is falling apart. Was this you? Did you do this? I read every message, didn't respond to any of them. That night, I packed the last of my belongings, loaded them into my car, took one final walk through the apartment that had been mine, ours, for 3 years. The windows Vanessa loved so much were dark, reflective. I could see myself in them. For the first time in a long while, I recognized the person looking back. I left my keys on the kitchen counter, took a photo for documentation, walked out. Behind me, my phone buzzed with another incoming call. I didn't look back. The silence was its own kind of weapon. I'd moved into my brother's spare room in Evanston. Small space, but clean. Quiet. No memories attached to it. I set up my laptop on the desk, organized my documents, and waited. Vanessa tried everything to reach me. Calls, texts, emails. She even sent a letter to my old address. The apartment management forwarded it to me with a note asking if I wanted mail forwarding set up permanently. I didn't open the letter, just added it to my evidence folder. Zane checked in daily. He'd become something between a friend and a project manager, keeping me focused, keeping me moving forward. Brightwell announced their investigation results, he said on a Friday morning. Internal memo. Vanessa's on administrative leave for 3 weeks while they review her conduct. What does that mean? Means she's not going back to her old position, maybe not going back at all. They're being careful. Companies don't like discrimination problems. What about Elliot? He's quiet, keeping his head down. Smart man. I pulled up my own monitoring system. I'd set up alerts on public records, social media, any mention of the names I was tracking. It was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. Lila had already posted a passive-aggressive status update. Sometimes you learn who your real friends are when things get hard. She'd deleted it an hour later, but screenshots live forever. She's turning, Zane observed. When people get scared, they distance themselves from the problem. Good. Jason. His voice got serious. You need to think about endgame here. What do you mean? I mean, you've accomplished a lot. Vanessa's career is damaged. Her friendships are fractured. Her secrets are coming out. At what point do you stop? When she understands. Understands what? What it feels like to lose everything. Zane was quiet for a moment. Be careful. Revenge has a way of eating the person who's seeking it. This isn't revenge. It's consequences. There's a difference? Yeah. Revenge is personal. Consequences are just cause and effect. I could hear him sigh through the phone. All right. What's the next step? Elliot's wife. You sure? She deserves to know. That one was tricky. I couldn't just send her a message. Too direct, too traceable. Zane and I spent 2 days figuring out the approach. Finally, we decided on simplicity. An envelope, no return address. Inside, printed screenshots of hotel confirmations, restaurant reservations, all showing Elliot's name and Vanessa's name together. Dates spanning 6 months. No letter, no explanation, just evidence. We mailed it from a post office in a different zip code, wore gloves, left no trace. 3 days later, Elliot called in sick to work. Didn't come back for a week. How do you know it worked? My brother asked one evening. He'd been watching this whole thing unfold with a mix of concern and fascination. Because he's scared now, I said. Before he thought he was safe. Thought nobody would find out. Now he knows someone knows, and he doesn't know who. That's worse than any confrontation. That's pretty cold. Yeah. I didn't disagree. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it later, it was Vanessa. She'd borrowed someone else's phone. Jason, I know you're avoiding me. I understand why, but please just listen. My life is falling apart. I can't get anyone to return my calls. My bosses won't talk to me. Lila won't talk to me. Even my parents are asking questions I don't know how to answer. Her voice cracked. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. But this, whatever you're doing, it's too much. Please. Can we just talk? Can we just be adults about this? I deleted the voicemail. The next morning, I got a call from a divorce attorney. Mr. Colter, this is Patricia Vance. I'm representing Vanessa Colter in a dissolution of marriage proceeding. I wanted to reach out before we file paperwork to see if we can handle this amicably. I haven't hired an attorney yet, I said. I understand, but given the circumstances, I wanted to see if you'd be open to mediation. It can save both of you significant time and money. What circumstances? A pause. I'm sorry? You said given the circumstances. Which circumstances specifically? Another pause. Longer. Mr. Colter, I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm asking for clarification. What circumstances are you referring to? I could hear papers rustling. Perhaps we should have this conversation when you've retained counsel. Perhaps. I hung up, smiled. They were scrambling, trying to control the narrative, trying to frame this as a normal divorce between two people who'd simply grown apart. But I had documentation. I had timelines. I had evidence of everything Vanessa had done, every lie she'd told, every dollar she'd spent on her secret life. They wanted amicable. They could have factual instead. I called a divorce attorney that afternoon. Not the biggest name in Chicago, but someone Zane recommended. Someone who understood that divorces were about strategy, not emotions. Mr. Colter, he said after I'd explained the situation, I'm going to be honest with you. You've got an excellent case. Documented infidelity, misuse of joint funds, abandonment of the marital residence. Most judges would rule in your favor on asset division. That's good. But I need you to understand something. Winning a divorce doesn't mean winning at life. When this is over, you're still going to have to move forward. I know. Do you? Because from what you're describing, you've spent the last month dismantling your wife's entire existence. That's not moving forward. That's scorched earth. I thought about that. Maybe I needed scorched earth. Maybe you did, but at some point you're going to run out of things to burn. He wasn't wrong, but I wasn't done yet. The next envelope I sent wasn't to Elliot's wife. It was to Brightwell's compliance department. Inside was a detailed breakdown of expense reports Vanessa had filed over the last year. Most were legitimate, but several, 5 to be exact, included meals and accommodations that coincided with Elliot's travel schedule. Meals for 2 charged as client entertainment, hotel upgrades charged as business necessity. I didn't have to accuse her of fraud, I just had to ask questions. I noticed some irregularities in these expense reports. The attached documentation shows that on these dates, Ms. Colter claimed client entertainment expenses, but the clients she listed were not in the city at the time. Additionally, the hotel upgrades appear to be personal in nature. I thought the compliance department should be aware. Anonymous, documented, verifiable. 2 weeks later, Brightwell announced Vanessa's employment had been terminated effective immediately. She showed up at my brother's house that night. I was in my room when the doorbell rang, heard my brother answer, heard Vanessa's voice, high and desperate. "Please, I need to see Jason, just for 5 minutes. Please." "He doesn't want to talk to you," my brother said. I'll wait right here until he comes out." "Vanessa, go home." "I don't have a home. I lost my apartment, I lost my job, everything is gone." I listened from the hallway, heard her break down, heard her crying. For a moment, just a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered 67 missed calls. "I'm not your possession," the Langham Hotel, the conference planning texts, every lie, every moment I'd made myself small so she could feel big. I stayed in my room. Eventually, my brother convinced her to leave. When I came out an hour later, he looked at me like he didn't quite recognize me. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah." That was hard to watch. "I know. You planning to talk to her at all?" "Once," I said. "When I'm ready." He nodded slowly. "Just make sure you're doing this for the right reasons." "What are the right reasons?" That's the question, isn't it? 3 weeks later, I agreed to meet Vanessa, not at a coffee shop or a restaurant, at the apartment. Our apartment. The lease was up in 4 days, and she still had belongings there. She'd asked for a time to collect them. I told her I'd be there Saturday at 2 p.m. I arrived early, walked through the empty rooms. Most of the furniture was gone. I'd sold what was mine, left what was hers. The space echoed, felt bigger somehow without all our stuff filling it up. The windows still showed that view Vanessa had loved. The city stretched out below, indifferent to our small drama. She arrived exactly on time. I heard the elevator, then her footsteps in the hall. The knock was tentative. I opened the door. She looked different, smaller. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer outfits. She'd lost weight. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi. Thanks for meeting me." I stepped back, let her in. She walked past me into the living room, looking around at the empty space. "It looks so different." "Most of it's gone." "Yeah, I can see that." She turned to face me. "Jason, Your stuff is in the second bedroom," I said. "I packed it, labeled the boxes." "Oh, okay, thank you." We stood there in awkward silence. "Can we talk?" she asked finally. "Really talk?" "That's why I'm here." She sat on the floor. There was nowhere else to sit. I remained standing. "I'm sorry," she started. "I know that doesn't mean much now, but I am. I'm sorry for everything." I didn't respond. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve forgiveness. But I need you to understand. It wasn't about you. You were great. You were kind and patient and understanding, maybe too understanding." "Is that supposed to make me feel better?" "No, I don't know. I'm not good at this." She looked down at her hands. "Everything's gone, Jason. My job, my apartment, most of my friends. Even Elliot won't return my calls anymore." "That sounds like consequences." Consequences. She laughed, but it was bitter. Is that what you call it? What would you call it? I'd call it revenge. Calculated, systematic revenge. I didn't do anything to you, Vanessa. I just stopped protecting you from yourself. You sent that information to my company. Don't pretend you didn't. I made sure accurate information was available to people who needed it. What they did with it was their choice. That's semantics. No, that's consequences. You charged personal expenses to the company. You lied on your expense reports. You had an inappropriate relationship with a colleague. Those are facts. I didn't create them. I just stopped hiding them. She stared at me. You've changed. No, I just stopped disappearing. I don't understand. I know you don't. That's the problem. I walked to the window, looked out at the city. For 8 years, I made myself smaller so you could feel bigger. Every time you needed space, I gave it. Every time you needed support, I provided it. Every time you made a choice, I adjusted. I thought that's what love was. It is. No, it's not. Love is supposed to be equal, partnership, not one person erasing themselves so the other can shine. I never asked you to do that. You didn't have to ask. I volunteered. That's on me. I turned to face her. But you accepted it. You took everything I gave and kept asking for more. And when I finally pushed back, when I finally said no, you called me childish, told me I was being ridiculous. Jason, do you remember what you texted me that night? I'm not your possession. Like I was some controlling partner, but I wasn't controlling you. I was just finally refusing to disappear anymore. Tears were running down her face now. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know. That's almost worse. You didn't think about me enough to even consider that you were hurting me. I pulled out a folder from my bag, set it on the floor between us. What's that? She asked. Everything. Every message. Every receipt. Every lie. Documented, organized, dated. Your lawyer's going to want to see it. She opened the folder. Started reading. I watched her face change as she went through page after page. Saw the moment she realized how much I knew, how long I'd known, how thoroughly I'd documented everything. You've been planning this, she whispered. All this time. I've been surviving. There's a difference. This is too much. Jason, this is obsessive. No. Obsessive would be following you, harassing you, threatening you. I did none of those things. I just stopped pretending I didn't see what you were doing. She closed the folder. What do you want from me? Nothing. That's the point. I don't want apologies. I don't want explanations. I don't want reconciliation or closure or any of the things people usually want when marriages end. Then why are we here? Because you needed to understand. You needed to see what happens when someone stops being invisible. I picked up my bag. You told me I didn't own you. You were right. But you didn't own me either. You just forgot that for a while. I walked toward the door. Jason, wait. I stopped. Didn't turn around. Was any of it real? Did you ever actually love me? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Yeah, I said finally. I did. But I loved a version of you that didn't exist. Or maybe she existed once, and I just didn't notice when she stopped being real. That's not fair. No, it's not. Nothing about this is fair. But it's honest, and honest is better than comfortable. I opened the door, stepped into the hallway. Jason. I turned back one last time. She was still sitting on the floor, surrounded by empty space and old lies. You gave them away, I said. Your integrity, your relationships, your career. You gave them all away for something temporary. I didn't take anything from you. I just held up a mirror. The door closed between us with a soft click. Final. Absolute. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. My phone buzzed. A text from Zane. How'd it go? I typed back. It's done. You okay? I thought about that. Was I okay? I'd spent weeks dismantling someone's life, Methodically, precisely, without mercy. I'd watched her lose everything and felt, what? Satisfaction, justice, revenge? None of those felt quite right. Maybe I just felt seen. Yeah, I typed. I'm okay. The elevator arrived, empty. I stepped inside, watched the doors close on the hallway, the apartment, that whole chapter of my life. As the elevator descended, I caught my reflection in the polished metal doors. For the first time in years, I looked like someone I recognized. She was right. She owed me nothing.